Good morning, everybody. We are continuing the series I wasn't expecting to even create into a series, but it seems to be going over pretty well. That is common questions, often asked, quick answers. So the common question today is, should we celebrate Christmas? Should we celebrate the birth of Christ? The answer, yes. Wow, that was easy. I'll tell you what, that was so quick. Let's do a few more questions. How about this? Should we honor and commemorate Christ dying for the sins of the world and for all of our sin? Yes. All right, how about another one? Should we celebrate his resurrection from the dead? Of course. What about this? What about his ascension to the right hand of the Father, where he keeps his promise to be with us always and to rule over all things? Well, that certainly seems like a good thing to keep in mind and to rejoice over. So, yes. Are there other significant moments in the life and work of Christ that deserve meditation, consideration, and proliferation? Well, how about his baptism, his overcoming the temptation of the devil and defeating the devil, his transfiguration? Truth is, there's a long list that we want to keep in our minds of the things that Jesus has done and is doing. There are things that we want to hold in our hearts, and so we want to remember them, and there are things we want to pass on to our children and our grandchildren. So the answer is yes, 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 right? Okay, now I have finished all the questions I'm going to answer, but I have two questions for you to answer. First one is this: does it make sense to put all this wonderful stuff that we want to know, understand, and remember and pass on? Does it make sense to put all that stuff in some sort of order so that God's people have time throughout the year to thoroughly learn and appreciate Christ's work? I understand we want to kind of keep these things that Christ has done for us in mind every single day, but doesn't it make sense to organize it in such a way that we can kind of focus in on one thing at a time and really appreciate and enjoy it, even while we consider it in the grand scheme of all the great work of Christ? Doesn't that make sense? And the second question is, does it make sense, for the sake of good teaching, annually to repeat this practice? Since we all know repetition is the mother of learning, doesn't it make sense to not only create the order, but to repeat the order? These are the two questions that I give to you to consider. My friends, here's the point. It would be wrong to demand that Christians observe a Christian calendar, but it would also be foolish for the Christian individual to ignore the obvious benefits of having such a calendar. Merry Christmas. God bless you all.